Right now, we're going to take a browse through the French papers of the day with Dipty Laurent. Hi there, Dipty.
Hi, Kat.
Now, we're going to start off with some French politics, getting ever closer to that French presidential election, of course. Now, the president's Socialist Party has now set a date for their primaries. We still don't know, though, if François Hollande himself is going to be standing for the election next year.
Well, it's all really a blur. It's fuzzy. It's still unclear. They finally set that date, but we don't really know who's actually going to be participating. The left lifts the blur. That's what 20 Minutes, the street paper, says on its front page. Ironically, they've blurred out the face of the candidate because, indeed, while the date has finally been set, that nobody really knows who's running. Now, one man who is running, who hasn't hidden his intentions, that's Arnaud Montebourg, who quit Hollande's government 2 years ago. He announced during a party summit yesterday that he will be presenting himself at those primary elections. Now, another former Hollande minister, Emmanuel Macron, has not officially declared himself candidate, but according to the financial paper Les Echos, he's slowly starting to sort of unveil his game. Les Echos reports that certain aides of Macron actually want him to rapidly announce his candidacy to put Hollande on the back foot. So it all sounds very Shakespearean, the protégé turned bitter rival.
And there's a lot of speculation that Hollande is going to choose some particular timing for when he announces his candidacy. He's playing a bit of a game there.
Now those primary elections have been announced for January next year, so many people are speculating that, I guess, by early next year, if not a little bit earlier than that, he will announce his candidacy. Now, like 20 Minutes, the Catholic paper La Croix also refers to this idea of the blur, le flou. Hollande's candidacy is still uncertain. And the problem for the Socialist Party, La Croix says, is that nobody else seems to be able to rival him or to impose themselves. Hollande is at his lowest popularity in France, and yet the Socialist Party cannot find one candidate who could hypothetically replace him. Now, according to a researcher interviewed in this article from La Croix, they're sort of incapable of seducing anyone outside their base supporters, and that's really the problem. But for the right-wing paper, L'Opinion, Hollande actually renounce running again. That's what the paper wonders on its front page. They say despite an imminent defeat, Hollande is spurred to run again for presidency, really for the future of the Socialist Party, which is more divided than ever.
It certainly is. All right. Well, one topic that's just be at the heart of the election campaign, something we've been talking about across Europe, the refugee crisis. It is impacting here in France, of course, with the migrant camp in Calais, among many other issues. And that's what Libération is talking about today.
Well, Libération is actually evoking this idea of two Frances. That's what it says on its headline there, Les deux France. France divided, really, split into two. It comes, of course, after the government announced it would be finally shutting down the infamous jungle migrant camp in Calais, and they would rehouse thousands of migrants in welcome centers around the country. Now, on one hand, you have local politicians who say, okay, if we have enough preparation, this will be definitely something we can do. It's feasible. But on the other hand, you have this sort of anti-immigrant sentiment being fanned by the right and especially the far right to sort of create fear-mongering months out from the election. So this is the two visions of France that we see today, as this photo illustrates. On the left there, that's a France which welcomes, and on the right, that's a France which rejects.
And we've been talking about Hungary holding its referendum on migrant quotas. One local mayor here in France has tried to hold a referendum asking his constituents if they want to welcome migrants.
Yeah, he did it rather unsuccessfully, it must be said. That's according to Le Parisien, who have interviewed this mayor. He's a mayor of the city of Alex in the southeast of France. He tried to organize a referendum for his locals, asking them if they were favorable or willing to accept around 50 migrants. It's not a lot. It's a very small number. But this referendum had to be cancelled because the administrative tribunal considered it illegal. Now, the mayor said that his people should have a say on whether they do welcome migrants or not. And this seems to be something that a lot of people feel in France, which is they feel like they don't have a choice in the subject, in the issue, whether or not to welcome more migrants. But then on the flip side, if you think about it, those refugees embarking on perilous journeys didn't have much of a choice either.
All right, let's move on to something completely different, really. Some news that came in just a couple of hours ago, in fact. Kim Kardashian, the reality TV star, held up at gunpoint in her hotel here in Paris on Sunday night.
That's right. She was here, of course, for Paris Fashion Week. And yesterday she did tweet on a photo on Twitter during the Givenchy show with her bodyguard. Not a lot of information coming in through right now, but Kardashian spokesperson said she's unharmed but shaken up over the incident, which took place on Sunday night in her Paris hotel room. Allegedly, two men stormed her room, I guess, dressed as police officers and robbed her at gunpoint. That's what we believe. It's unclear if they stole anything or what, but Kanye West, her husband, has announced that he's canceling a show in New York. But it must be said, it's been a couple of really difficult days for Kardashian because last Wednesday she was actually groped in public by Vitaly Sedyuk, who seems to be the sort of infamous prankster who's, and I guess a groper, serial groper. So she's not been having a good time.
No, indeed. And police sources now telling news agencies that several $1 million worth of jewellery was stolen in that raid, but that nobody was hurt. Thanks very much, Diptyque Laurent, who'll be back later on with the international papers for us.